Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel. Joseph Conlon here with you on Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. I'm recording this Tuesday night. Decided not to watch Hard Knocks. Just was not going to waste my time with that garbage. This is not a video I want to make. You guys see the title. You're probably here to not even watch the video because of the title that you see, because you see the video. I'm like, I'm not going to listen to this idiot. Meanwhile, I have all the facts to back up the information. Or you're in here to hate on me. If you have not seen my Twitter timeline, I've been getting harassed by Miami Dolphin fans over my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion that I think Mike Mcdaniel should be fired at the end of the season if the Miami Dolphins don't win a playoff game. If the Miami Dolphins do win a playoff game, this is meaningless. This video is meaningless. But I don't think it's going to be. I don't think this is a meaningless video. And it stinks that I have to have this conversation the week before, the week of the Miami Dolphins going into a big showdown against the Buffalo Bills for the AFC East title on Sunday night. Stinks I have to make this video, but I have no choice. I have no choice. We have to have this conversation. Last year, after the Green Bay Packers lost, we had this conversation about Tua Tagovailoa. Is Tua Tagovailoa the guy long-term in Miami? Now, looking at that video a year later, I think Tua is a franchise quarterback. He's proven to stay healthy the whole year. He's putting up great stats once again. The only thing he hasn't proven to me is winning big games late in the season. That's his weakness. And now we make the same video literally a year later. This time with Mike McDaniel. And you guys see it in the description. You guys see it in the title of this video. Why the Miami Dolphins should fire Mike McDaniel if they don't win a playoff game this year. And that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about here today. That's it. I was going to come on here and talk about playoff scenarios for this week, but I decided not to because these brain-dead morons that call themselves Dolphin fans want to come after me and say I'm not a real Dolphins fan. I'm sorry, but I'm not the type of guy who is optimistic and will be like, it's okay. We'll get him back next week, fellas. That's not who I am. And if that's what you're looking for, then click off the video. Please. Unfollow me on Twitter. Because that's just not who I am. And that's with every sports team that I love. I'm going to call it how it is. If the team stinks, then yeah, I'm going to be super critical. If the team is playing really good, then yeah, I'm going to sit here and praise them. But right now, the Miami Dolphins, they stink. Oh, but they have a playoff berth. They're in the playoffs. They have 11 wins. They're going to be playing in a playoff game next week. Shut up. Shut up. You Dolphin fans out there refuse to see the bigger picture, which is why I have to come here and have a discussion. Why? Because other Dolphin creators, maybe outside of Big O and TD Finns Talk, refuse to have conversations like this. So, we're going to get into it. This should be about a 20-minute video. Not that long. There's only one thing that I have to talk about, and that's Mike McDaniel. Now, I'm going to start off by saying this. Do I think Mike McDaniel is going to be fired after this season? No. I think Chris Greer and Stephen Ross is going to give him one more year to prove himself to this organization that he is the guy. Remember, I said, do I think they're going to fire him? Now, the next question I have is, should Chris Greer and Stephen Ross move on from Mike McDaniel if the Dolphins don't win a playoff game this year? And that answer, ladies and gentlemen, that is yes. Folks, there are some coaches in this league who are really smart. Mike McDaniel is a really smart coach, and he really knows offensive football. Look at his transformation of Tua Tagovailoa. It's fantastic. I don't know if Tua is the way he is, if Brian Flores is still the head coach of this Dolphins team. Shit. I don't know if Tua Tagovailoa is a Miami Dolphin if Brian Flores is the head coach of this football team. But I'll get to Brian Flores in a moment because I want to talk about Brian Flores. But Mike McDaniel's done great stuff. He's transformed Tua Tagovailoa into a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He runs a great offense sometimes. And he's gotten best out of his offensive linemen this year with game planning. The guy is an offensive wizard. And there are some coaches in the NFL who are good coordinators. For example, Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. He is what they call, this was not the case on Sunday, but I'm over that loss on Sunday against the Ravens. I've moved on, okay? You might not think so, but I've completely moved on from that Ravens game. It's on to this. This is what my main concern is. Vic Fangio is a defensive guru. But Vic Fangio went to Denver for 3 years to prove himself as a head coach in this league, and he just didn't get the job done. Some coordinators go be head coaches, and they're not good. Vic Fangio did not pan out. Mike McDaniel, in my opinion, is not panning out this season. However, other coaches in the NFL, like Shane Steichen, the coach for the Indianapolis Colts, Brian Dable. No, I wouldn't say Brian Dable. That's a bad example. Who can I give you? Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams the year they won the Super Bowl. And went to the Minnesota Vikings, and he's gotten the best out of Josh Dobbs at certain points of the season. He's gotten the best out of Nick Mullins in certain points of the season, that's a good head coach. Mike McDaniel is not a good head coach. He's a good coordinator, like he was in San Francisco, but he's not a good head coach. And I don't know if it's too much for him, but it seems like being a head coach and calling the offensive plays and coming up with the offensive game plan, it's too much for him. I think he needs to focus. As a head coach, I feel like he needs to focus on both sides of the football instead of just the offense. He needs to be a head coach, not an offensive head coach. The head coach. Look at Sirianni from the Eagles last year. Okay? He was the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Shane Steichen ran the offense. Jonathan Gannon ran the defense. And they had a top 5 offense and they had a top 5 defense last year. And that is not panning out in Miami. Oh, but statistic-wise, they're top 5 in the offense. They're top 5 in defense. Folks, here's our next topic of conversation. Have y'all realized this offense hasn't evolved from the beginning of the season? This offense looked generational. It looked like a generational offense in the beginning stages. The first month, minus the Bills game, was outstanding from the offensive side. You look at the game against the Giants and the game Devon Achane had. You look at the Carolina Panthers game, they were moving all up and down the field. The first 2 months, they looked like a generational offense. And then you get into the later months. Offense in November and December. Man, let's see if they can step their game up even more from the great success that they've had in the first 2 months. And the production for both, the production for the offense has gone down drastically. Because, see, in the first half of the season, the Miami Dolphins were not settling for field goals. In the second half of the season, the Miami Dolphins offense, who has head coach Mike McDaniel calling the plays, they're going for it on 4th down a lot. They're not converting, and they're settling for field goals. Example, Tennessee Titans game. First drive of the second half. They're down 10-7. They get down to the 3-yard line of the Tennessee Titans. In September, they're scoring a touchdown. But since it's late in the season and the offense hasn't evolved and Mike McDaniel, his calling is not making the offense better late in the season, they're stuck settling for field goals. Again, against the Titans. Down 13-10. They get down to the 5-yard line. And he calls 3 passing plays in a row. And they settle for a field goal. In September, those are 2 touchdowns. Those are 2 touchdowns in September. Another example. He's lucky they beat the Dallas Cowboys. Because in this instance, the Cowboys were winning 7-3. and on the Cowboys' 5-yard line, instead of taking the points, they go for it. Goal line fade, turnover on downs. Mike Mcdaniel is costing his team in crucial points of the game with his play calling. And that Dallas game, he's lucky that they won that game because, it's very close. It was very close. So now that we got to that part, we got to he can't be a head coach of a football team. He's a good coordinator, but he's not a good head coach. He's not involved in the offense. I'm gonna write this on notes just to keep this all up, keep up with all this. Good coordinator. I want to make sure I get into everything about Mike McDaniel. I'm going all in. I'm giving him all the criticism. Offense not evolving. Let's talk about this. Yeah, now we're going to talk about Brian Flores. Because for the 3 seasons that Brian Flores was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, you know what this team had when he was the head coach? When they were in 2019, they were one of the worst teams in the NFL. The tank for 2 a year. You know what they had? You know what Brian Flores brought to this organization? Toughness. This team had toughness under Brian Flores for 3 seasons. And yeah, looking back at it, at the end of the 21 season when they fired Brian Flores, would I have kept Flores or Tua? I would have kept Tua. But one aspect, a big aspect, that Flores had that McDaniel does not have is toughness. And sometimes the players can act the same way as the coach does. Back in 2019, 2020, we never heard stories. We never seen the Dolphins clown around like they do now. And it's because of the bad influence of the head coach. Mike McDaniel is too laid back. It's great to be laid back, but bro, you're laid back on the football field, you're acting like you don't give a shit. On the football field, that's when you gotta act serious. When you're on the sideline making the play calls, making the in-game decisions, that's when you gotta get serious. And this team is missing toughness, especially in big-time games. This team is not tough at all. This team's a bunch of wuss. I'm not going to say it. I held back there. But this team ain't built for the big game. They ain't built for it. Why? Because they don't have toughness. And that's because of the head coach. Here we go. Here's our next topic. No mid-game adjustments. He is so stubborn. And this, I'm going back to Brian Flores. This part makes Mike McDaniel and Brian Flores the same coach. Why are they the same coach? Because they're both stubborn. in what they believe. They are both stubborn in what they believe. The only difference between McDaniel and Brian Flores is that Brian Flores' strength is coaching the defense, and Mike McDaniel's strength is coaching the offense. And Brian Flores had absolutely no personality, and Mike McDaniel has a lot of personality. Those are the only difference between them. Mike McDaniel is stubborn. He's full of himself. And that's why you don't see him make mid-game adjustments. When he gets punched in the face, he doesn't punch back. He's like the punching bag for the other coaches on the team. John Harbaugh and Mike Macdonald coached circles around Mike McDaniel. Let's bring up examples of when Mike McDaniel refused to make adjustments. Last year against San Francisco, they score on the first play of the game. Later in the game, San Francisco figures him out. Mike McDaniel doesn't have a counterpunch. Chargers game last year, McDaniel wanted to attack the middle of the field against the Chargers with no Derwin James. That was their game plan. What happened? The Chargers flooded the middle of the field. Tua couldn't do anything in that game. And did McDaniel go into halftime when they were losing to the Chargers and make adjustments? Nope. No adjustments at all from your head coach. Last year, in the playoff game, they abandoned the run. They didn't run the ball at all in that playoff game against the Bills last year. Skylar Thompson dropped back 45 times to throw the football. Again, no mid-game adjustment. This year, against the Kansas City Chiefs, in Germany, does McDaniel make any mid-game adjustments when the Dolphins go down early or when the Dolphins go down 14-0? Nope. The Tennessee Titans. Connor Williams goes down with an ACL. Tyreek Hill goes down with an ankle injury. You're not in the Tyreek Hill is not in the game. Does Mike McDaniel make mid-game adjustments to the situation? Nope. The guy refuses to make adjustments. The guy refuses to switch up the game plan because he's full of himself. And he tries to be cute and be like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna get you. When it's the other side saying, ha ha ha, you don't know what the hell you're doing. We're running circles around you, buddy. The guy refuses to make mid-game adjustments. So let me see. Good coordinator, not a good head coach. Offense not revolving. No toughness. No mid-game adjustments. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Can't win challenges. He's challenging plays. That is obvious that it's not going to get overturned. He can't win. I believe he's challenged plays like 10 times this year. I think he's won 2. The man cannot win a challenge. And that game on Sunday against the Ravens, when Odell Beckham made that catch against Kato Kohu, bro, I was sitting right in front of the end zone in the upper level. It was clear as day that Odell had possession of the ball. He got both feet in bounds. But what does Mike do? You know what? I'm going to throw the challenge play because you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. It's a man who just doesn't care. It's a man who doesn't care. And then, this year, this is a new thing. He doesn't know when it's time. This is the last thing. He doesn't know when it's time to take out the starters. For most part of the season, he's been very good for when to take out Tua Tagovailoa. But this week, they're down 42-19, and Tua is still in the game. What happened? Tua took a huge hit while sliding, 3 yards short of the first down marker, and he comes out with a banged-up shoulder. The Ravens are winning 49-19, and somehow one of your best defensive players, Bradley Chubb, is still in the game. What happened? Bradley Chubb towards his ACL. That's on you, coach. That's on you. Not only, that's your decision to leave him in the game. You're the fucking coach. Speak up. So not only because of his lack of awareness, not only is Bradley Chubb out for the season, Bradley Chubb is going to miss most of next season too. And players, they aren't the same coming off of ACL injuries, Achilles injuries, the following year. So even if Bradley Chubb comes back in November next year, Jalen Phillips comes back in October, let's say, those guys aren't going to be fully the same until the 2025 season. So we're not going to get 100% of Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips until 2025. Why? Because you have a lack of awareness of when to take out the starters when the game is over. Up 27-6 over the Jets. You know the Jets aren't going to fucking score. And let's just leave our starters in there. What happens? Jalen Phillips pops his Achilles, out for the season. You know what, man? The Ravens are beating us 49-19 with 3 minutes to go. We got a division title game next week. You know what? Let's just leave our starters in the game. Bradley Chubb, torn ACL. So, I pretty much just went into everything. I gave you 6 reasons as to why Mike McDaniel should be fired. I gave you 30 minutes of detail and backed up my reasoning for why Mike McDaniel should be fired. And if you Dolphin fans are too stubborn to not think this way, shame on you. And if you don't like what I have to say, then get the hell out of here. I'm out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Field channel. We'll have picks here tomorrow. Week 18, we'll do picks on Thursday tomorrow. Friday, we're going to do the preview for the Buffalo Bills Miami Dolphins game. The AFC East title on the line on Sunday Night Football. Yippee! I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch. That'll be on Friday. And then Sunday night, we're going to end it all. We're going to end regular season content from the Miami Dolphins. Probably on the most sour note that we can. Talking about the game against the Buffalo Bills. Are they the 2 seed? Or are they the 6 seed going to Arrowhead round 1 of the playoffs? Believe it or not, I'm going to talk more about this on Friday. But in my head, in my mind of thinking, I am more confident in this team beating Kansas City in Arrowhead round 1 of the playoffs than I do them beating the Buffalo Bills this week in Miami. I'll talk more about it on Friday. I'm out of here. Peace. Fins up.